If a musical is famous enough to receive two film adaptations, it's likely that one is significantly better than the other. One is remembered and adored, while one is hopefully forgotten. One is inspired, while the other is a dull comparison. But this isn't always the case. There's one exception to this rule that can come to my mind, and that is West Side Story. Both the 1961 Robert Wise production and the 60-year-later 2021 Steven Spielberg production are inspired takes in the 1957 musical by Leonard Bernstein. While the former is undoubtedly a classic, is the new one of any value to audiences? My answer is a resounding yes. Let me prove to you, the judge, the jury, and the executioner, why. But to be clear, my case is not that the 1961 film is lacking in any way, since the 2021 film doesn't strive to be a replacement. I have no intent on tearing down the original, which is surely one of the greatest movie musicals ever. This is why the new film stands on its own merit and shouldn't be dismissed. This is why you should give it another shot. This is In Defense of West Side Story. In 1961, West Side Story was a financial and critical hit, and it swept the Oscars, nabbing Best Picture. 60 years later, the same story and music was brought to the screen again, but this time it was a box office bomb, despite critical acclaim. There are many possible reasons for this, including COVID-19 and the marketing missing the demographic of the film, as well as its release near the latest Spider-Man film. But some people's issues with the film seem to be in its existence in the first place. I mean, why fix what ain't broken? But I agree with Brian Tallarico, who expressed in his review of the new West Side Story on RogerEbert.com. Fans of the original stage production and beloved film will argue over the need for a 2021 version of West Side Story, although restaging a classic play is an annual event in major theaters around the world. For some reason, remakes in film are often seen as attempts to supplant an original, whereas theatergoers are accustomed to the process of new voices interpreting texts. In other words, while I'm always a fan of new original stories, revisiting an old tale with a fresh perspective is something I also welcome. Musicals especially should welcome this since it follows the stage tradition of revivals. Film purists who shun remakes should, therefore, deny great works like Ben-Hur, which is a remake, or their favorite rendition of Alice in Wonderland, which is probably a remake of a remake of a remake of a... I can't count. Even the original West Side Story is... not completely original. Storytelling is a tradition of stealing and borrowing, adapting and changing. This film enriches the story and brings it to a modern audience. My generation. This time around, the screenplay was penned by Pulitzer Prize and Tony Award-winning Tony Kushner. This new interpretation focuses on the destruction of San Juan Hill in the Upper West Side to make way for the Lincoln Center, which is a smart choice. Not only does it highlight the uselessness of gang violence and how the gangs have more in common than they realized, it recognizes the poverty that puts the Sharks and the Jets in this situation. This film also addresses the immigrant experience more heavily than its predecessor, and the heavy use of unsubtitled Spanish only aids this effort. Tony even tries to learn a little Spanish for Maria, which is more than Danny ever did for Sandy. Bernardo is given purpose outside of the Sharks in this film as a boxer, and his relationship with Maria, as well as their experiences coming to America, is explored more in this adaptation. We are told that Chino has intelligence and promise as well as a nice job. That means in this version, not only is Chino a wise and safe option for Maria, his wasted potential makes Tony's murder even more heartbreaking. Kushner even gave the Sharks their own song, the Puerto Rican national anthem, which is somewhat equivalent to the Jets' Jet Song. Speaking of songs, the reshuffling of musical numbers benefits this movie greatly. Cool is given a more defined purpose, as a fight over Riff's gun, a choice that not only adds momentum but also necessity to the song's existence. I also have to appreciate how we follow the story of the gun from its purchase to Chino's inevitable possession. I Feel Pretty, once again rightfully placed after the Rumble, is right where it should be. It is the powerful juxtaposition of Bernardo's death with his blissful, unknowing sister that really packs a punch. We know what Maria doesn't, that the man she loves just murdered her brother. The song Maria leads directly into the balcony scene and Tonight, once again simply adding momentum, whereas the 1961 film wedges America in between those two moments. Somewhere is given to Rita Moreno, because it's Rita Moreno, damn it, but this also follows the stage tradition of having an outside voice from the couple sing the song Somewhere. They even found an inventive way to incorporate the music to the scherzo, having Maria dress herself in the morning in a sort of dance with a rhythmic accompaniment. It must not be ignored, however, that some story improvements exist in this film because they were wisely changed in the first place by screenwriter Ernest Lehman in 1961. Listen to the Tonight Quintet and how it changes from stage to screen for such an indication. Here is where I might as well say it. 2021's West Side Story is a better film adaptation, and certainly the one I prefer. I recommend people to watch this over the original, but there are many reasons for this, for it is not only the script that is superior. While I have much adoration for the original film, it is hard to deny the stereotyping and unfortunate casting choices that riddle the first film. 2021's West Side Story opted for more authentic casting, thank heavens. First off, Rachel Zegler, a Colombian American, shines in this film, and she is such a fantastic singer. I wish Maria was given more numbers. To think that this was her first film is hard to fathom. She provides such a perfect performance. Ariana DeBose had big shoes to fill as Anita, providing Rita Moreno originally portrayed her. She succeeds, leaving a sucker punch performance that is spicy and witty all the way to heart-wrenchingly sad, and she certainly doesn't lack in the dancing department. She nabbed the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, the only Oscar this film won. Undoubtedly, I believe this film was robbed. If Emilia Perez can win any Oscars at all, then West Side Story should have been given an honorary Oscar that said, "I'm sorry," on the base. Zegler and DeBose's performance of A Boy Like That, I Have a Love, is a highlight of the film. David Alvarez brings a more complex approach to the character of Bernardo, and I always have to applaud when filmmakers recognize valuable stage talent like Mike Feist. Kushner thankfully gives Tony a backstory for leaving the Jets, a backstory that directly leads to the fight with Bernardo and his eventual death. This is wise because, if anything, Tony is kind of the most boring character. Elgert's performance as Tony is probably the only one that doesn't ring as true as the others do for me. Perhaps he lacks the youthful shine of Zegler or the vigor of DeBose, or even with Kushner's assistance, Tony's still kind of a boring character. Also, 10 imaginary movie musical mania points because Rita Moreno is in this movie, and they gave her a song, and she's in a role that doesn't feel forced. Actually, replacing Doc's character with his Puerto Rican wife is an incredibly deft and clever move from a story standpoint. All Spielberg really did was take a masterpiece, keep it a masterpiece, and add a little flair and backstory. He took gold and made prettier gold. It is Spielberg, that wonderful mogul of cinema, who infuses magic into this film. His take on the tale is refreshing but faithful to the heart of the original work. The attention to detail and the love from which the creators approached this material is palpable. I also respect that this film perfectly toes the line between heightened reality of the stage and the authenticity of the cinema. If you've seen my video on vocal dubbing in musicals, you will know I generally disapprove of realism in musicals. But this film is letter perfect. While making the issues of gang violence a little more real than previous renditions of the story, this film also bursts with magic in the vibrant colors and the lens flares. While this film avoids the perhaps laughable dance fighting that has become infamous over time, the music is still the driving force behind the characters. Justin Peck's gorgeous, lyrical, and lilting choreography seems to come from the characters naturally, as if it's an organic extension of their being. It is an original and creative alternative to the Jerome Robbins choreography that obviously inspires it. The cinematography is masterful, and it creates a magical landscape out of 1950s New York. The camera movements are sweeping and always impressive. Hell, the long, sustained opening shot that ends in a jump scare was enough to have me sold on this film. You may be asking, all this for what? You said yourself that the original film was a masterpiece of musical cinema. Why some remake, and why should we care? And to that I say, fair. Watch the original, it certainly is a must-watch. But dismissing this new adaptation is a grave error, since it is, in my opinion, the best musical of this century. With an inspired script, top-notch performances, and a stunning visual display, this film is a love letter from its creators. Spielberg proves, once again, that he just might know what he's doing. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. This is Movie Musical Mania.